Is Indian superstition replacing rationality in academia? In a startling collision of myth and science, India's top academic institutions are witnessing an infusion of Hindu mythology and belief systems into the educational curriculum, and it's creating a storm of controversy. Propelled by growing Hindu nationalism and support from the government, pseudoscience is finding its way into classrooms and conferences. One eye catching example is the Akash For Life conference, aiming to fuse ancient Hindu wisdom with modern scientific advancement, a move condemned by many within the Indian scientific community. The nonprofit India March for Science responded pointedly, stating that such concepts have been deleted from science books a long time back. The trend even includes outlandish claims by educators, including G. Nageswara Rao, who insisted that characters from the Hindu epic Mahabharata were born of stem cell and test tube technology. This alarming marriage of mythology and science has raised red flags among experts who fear a dangerous drift from reason and empirical evidence, and an education system in which fantasy begins to masquerade as fact. Um, are you back? There we go.
Yes.
Yes. So I wanted to cover this because I read two really interesting articles about basically the infiltration of pseudoscience and homeopathy, Ayurveda, all this stuff into Indian science and textbooks. And I thought that this would be interesting to cover because over the past years, we get recommended a lot of articles about many different examples of this pseudoscience actually replacing scientific fact in popular and public curriculum. To the point that I don't even choose to cover it as often because it's like so frequent, it would get like redundant. So I thought that this would be kind of like a good way to do a review, shall we say. And I'm sure we have a lot of people in the live chat watching from India. So if you have a favorite example of the pseudoscience that you've heard of, maybe in one state or a certain city, blah, blah, blah. If you have an example, feel free to drop it in the chat because there's a lot that I haven't even heard of. So I'm curious what you guys know of. So one of the examples that I particularly loved, oh God, okay. And I need to preface this. YouTube, we are reporting on the false claims by others. We are stating these as an effort to dispute and refute these claims. These are not our claims. Go seek professional help, medical assistance, blah, blah, blah. Okay, YouTube gods, we have given the creed, the ablutions. We beg for forgiveness and mercy. Okay, that being said, let me give some examples. Guys, make sure to like this stream because YouTube hates when we talk about this, but it's important and we have fun doing it. Here's a quote. Many experts have tied the rise of, so here's an example. Many experts have tied the rise of pseudoscience in India to the rise of the BJP coming to power in 2014. Members of the party have repeatedly amplified scientific falsehoods, for instance, that cow urine can cure cancer or that ancient Indians invented the internet. And what was really interesting about this article was it was talking about how there are lots of people within the scientific community in India that hate this, actively oppose this, and want to work hard to strengthen India's reputation globally. They want India to be known as having scientific rigor globally. They want to earn that respect. They want India and the potential of the nation to be understood and recognized and appreciated around the world. So they have very strong feelings about opposing these kinds of beliefs and the imposition of these beliefs, not only just in scientific conferences, but within academic and teaching curricula itself, right? But are basically disincentivized from doing this because it can cost them in their own personal career. And it can also cost them funding, especially when there are politicians from the ruling party that want to promote these kinds of beliefs, holding the purse strings, so to speak, of grants, of departmental funding, institutional funding, maybe, or even in form of donations. So yada 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 yada. So there are, that itself is another huge contention that Indian scientists are facing. Um, there was one example that I really loved. Wait, let me find it. Oh yeah. um, okay. It's a problem that has many academics here worried. As India becomes increasingly polarized, coordinated efforts to popularize pseudoscientific theories and to aggrandize the nation's own scientific past have begun to gain ground, they say. It's worrying mashup of nationalism, religion, and scientific bunkum that appears to have an increasingly easy sell, and one that leaves the population both misinformed and perennially at odds with itself. Quote, that is why our leaders and scientists talk about how evolution is wrong, said Aniket Sule, an astrophysicist and a colleague of Karandikar at HBCSE. Quote, or how Indians were the first to invent atomic theory, or how cow worship is scientific. There was another example of how there was a national level test on cow science. And obviously, because it's considered sacred in Hinduism. And the syllabus for the exam, quote, made claims including that earthquakes happened due to cow slaughter and that cow byproducts were capable of curing disease, like cow mantra, like that kind of thing. I love the idea that cow slaughter causes earthquakes. Like, I want to know exactly, like, what is the mechanism? What is the material mechanism from cow slaughter to earthquake? Like, what happens in between?
I think it's the exact same mechanism that gay sex leads to earthquakes in the US. Or gay sex leads to, yeah, I think it's the same.
But that mechanism is God's anger and God's fury. That's the mechanism is God's punishment. Right?
Right.
That's obviously going to be a very different conception than in Hinduism.
Well, I mean, it's how cows are related to a specific god or goddess at all in Hinduism, or no? I think it would be that god. It's It's basically, it's karma. It's the karma thing. I think it's
I know.
going. Wait, it's karma. It's karma.
No.
No.
Karma is accrued across lifetimes.
Is It's, what is it? We have to talk to an expert, guys. We need an expert in Hindu nonsense. Can you please explain that to us?
Abhijit was saying cows single-handedly hold down the tectonic plates. We need to carefully place cows on the tectonic plates to keep everything pinned down.
Okay, here's how it works. Okay, things work out in general if you move in the path of dharma. Okay, so it's going out of the path of dharma that leads to an instability in the universe, right? So that's how I explain it. Is that good, guys? Hindu experts in the live chat. I'm just saying, because you're not following your dharma when you're killing a cow, that's what leads to instabilities within nature, and that's what causes earthquakes. Is that good? Is that good? Is that good Hindu nonsense? Like, is that a high quality Hindu nonsense? Okay, tell me if I did good. But here's the thing I want to say. This is such a shame. Like, I don't know if people understand the cost associated with this. Like, I think people get angry when somebody is killed for because of religion, or somebody's being discriminated against, and justifiably so. But I don't know if I understand this makes people less angry because they can't the cost associated with it is not directly in front of you. You can't see exactly the people who are being hurt, because it's like a multi-step process that is going to lead, like, this kills more people than somebody like doing a hate crime on an individual. Your country falling a bit behind in technology and science, that kills more people. The potential uh, the economic costs associated with this, and falling poverty, for example. If your country is not growing out of poverty fast as it could be, people die for that. More people die because of that. And let me make this clear. India is, unlike what many Indian leftists will tell you in the live chat, and there's a lot of them here, okay? So, because they like our show, because we crap on Hinduism, right? So, because we crap on Hinduism, there's a lot of people from India who are leftists who come watch our show. And unlike what many of them will tell you, India is on the path to become an economic superpower, right? And India has so much going for it. India is filled with entrepreneurs that are competing with other people in the tech industry on a global level and are crushing it. Russia is now pulling its hair out because it doesn't want to fall behind on India when it comes to space exploration. Russia, who used to be a country that was competing with the United States in space exploration and technology, is now has to worry about India passing it. That's how far India is, right? And no matter what nonsense these people do, India will still grow. India is an unstoppable force on a global level. Okay. And even with all of this nonsense, it will still grow. So the question of whether India is going to grow economically and technologically and scientifically, it's not a question of if. Okay. This is happening. Nobody can stop India. But the speed of it, even if it's reduced by the slightest, we're talking about the second most populated country in the world. The effect on people, it's astronomical. And the only thing, this is when we say religion poisons everything, this is what we're talking about. The consequences of nonsense like this in the education system on a country that is advancing in technology and science and economic progress so much is devastating. Even if you just have a 1%, and this is going to have a big impact. So the question is how much you grow. India will grow, India will progress very fast, but this is going to slow that down. And people are not going to recognize, many people are not going to recognize that this is going to slow that down because it's still growing. But something could have, become 100 times better or 50 times better, and people think, well, it's still getting better. Yeah, but the opportunity cost, the missed opportunities of things, of the progress that you're not going to make, this slowing that down, this is worse than any other country. The reason why this is worse than almost many other countries is because the effect on the higher number of people, like globally. And again, and this is not, the cost is not just to Indians. India progressing is good for the planet. Like, if you're watching this in Canada, this is going to ruin your life in Canada or in France, because a richer India is a richer planet. A richer India is good for the economy of France, of South Africa, of Bangladesh, of even Pakistan, right? And China. These people with this religious mumbo jumbo by affecting the speed of progress of India, they are screwing the world. And again, I want to mention to D because I don't want people to think that this is an anti-India sentiment. Because you know who's fighting this? The people who are, and I don't think these people themselves understand how important they are. Because these saying much respect, these saying much respect to the Indian YouTubers fighting this trend and all the other activists. I think these activists and YouTubers, they don't understand that what they're doing is saving the planet, because we need India. Just like with China's economic progress has lifted the entire planet out of poverty. India, now it's India's turn. India lifting itself up and progressing is going to destroy poverty on a level that a lot of people don't understand. And Hinduism is slowing that down. Do you understand when we say Hinduism is poison? Hinduism is screwing the world. Now, on a scale like that we couldn't imagine. This is what we're talking about. When we say religion ruins lives, we're not just talking about acts of violence here and there. This is how religion ruins lives, more than acts of violence, more than war, even sometimes. So more than like somebody's, going choppy on someone somewhere else. Like when we talk about like somebody because of Hinduism doing a human sacrifice, people will like, oh my God, Hinduism so harmful. Okay, but that's one person that somewhere. This is the poison that Hinduism is. More than that, more than human sacrifice and stuff like that. This kills more people than that. Anyways, I went on a rant. Sorry for.
You're spitting today. God damn. No, but I really like it when you frame it that way, because I don't know, like I don't know how to explain to people how excited I am for India's future. Like I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited to see it. Like I want that I want prosperity to benefit more people's lives, right? So I completely track with what you're saying.
Yeah. By the way, Dee mentioned in the chat to please scroll down to introduce these content creators. Yes, thank you so much, Dee, for including these. Do you want to ask? Do you want to like? I think this is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to
So,
introduce it?
whoop,
Yeah.
you're
There's
scrolling right
two.
past it. You're stop.
There.
Nope.
Here, this one.
There we go.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of these content creators who's tackling this issue is Prana Ranakrishnam. And he goes by @scienceisdope_ on Twitter. I refuse to call X. And he puts forward like content kind of battling a lot of these unscientific claims. And I know that there are a lot of local or statewide organizations that help combat superstition. Like we covered the activism of one of these people, I believe it was in the state of Haryana. They have a big rationalism movement there. Unfortunately, I can't remember their actual like local name, right? Because everything's translated to English. But I'm so excited by in the movement of rationalism in South Asia. And I'm overall very frustrated by how the long history of rationalism within the subcontinent is really not highlighted or appreciated in the so-called West.
Right.
Especially because then there are people that say like, oh, don't say that, it's offensive, it's against their culture, their tradition, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you have no appreciation for the hundreds or thousands of years of history of rationalism coming out of this part of the world. Like, how dare you say that this person is less from their culture, that they're not Indian, blah, 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 because they firmly reject Hinduism. Right. Some of the most seminal people in the history of the subcontinent have been very strong in asserting their rejection of Hinduism while asserting their pride and their civil work for that very same nation. You know what I mean? These things shouldn't be seen as opposites or exclusive.
Yeah. Exactly. This is actually a very good point, because a lot of people think that we're anti-India because we are pointing out how Hinduism is destructive to India and the harm that it does. Okay. But India itself has a history and a tradition of fighting, of movements that are fighting superstition and dogma like this. Right. So, and that deserves its celebration. So if that's anti-Indian, and then all of these movements that are born within India, they're also anti-India, which is nonsensical. And I think actually the people who are pushing this superstitious nonsense, especially in the government and in the education system, they are anti-India. Like the people who are, they think, especially a lot of Indian nationalists who in the name of protecting India come and spread this nonsense everywhere, they are the ones who are hurting India more
It's
than
born
anyone
out
else, I
of
think.
insecurity and an inferiority complex.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
literally what this is
I,
born out of.
I can't think of anything other than global warming that is more harmful to India. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I can't just think of anything, right? More than global warming, I think like religion, Hinduism, and superstition is the second biggest threat to India's progress after global warming. I mean, I can't. I know there might be something out there. I just can't think of those. That's how big of danger, big of a poison, harmful of a poison religion is to India right now, and it's such a shame. So much potential is being lost because of this nonsense. Um. Okay.
Let's go through. Can you go through the super chats while I take my break, my bathroom break?
Yes, of course. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Put yourself down. All right. So Oxymoron is saying, thank you so much for the support, everybody. Oxymoron is saying AR shows a Stoic CBT link. West ponders ether. What is that? Do you know how to? Okay, but Brown exploring interrelationship between metaphysics with science should be taboo. Okay, so Oxymoron doesn't understand that Stoicism is not metaphysics, and there is Oxymoron, guys, by the way, is a self-admitted racist in our self-admitted, like he himself says that, who's trying to use super chats as a way to suggest that me and Susanna are racist. So now this is what he's doing here. He's trying to suggest that we are biased against brown people and in favor of white people, because we are saying we have a double standard here. It's just interesting how me and Susanna are so careful not to speak as if we have a bias against brown people or Indian. You saw, like, for example, during the show, I'm constantly aware of that. And Dee was aware of that as well. And Susanna is aware of that as well. That's why we try to celebrate whenever we're pointing out some problems within, superstitious problems, religious problems within India. We want to make sure that the people who are watching us don't come up with a biased anti-brown or anti-India perspective. So we take our time to celebrate the people from within India that are fighting against the superstition as well. So Oxymoron is desperate to try to paint us as racist, but I think me and Susanna and Dee and our team is doing a very good job to make sure that not only we don't say something that is bigoted, but also unintentionally our viewers don't take a message like that. But again, Oxymoron is very insecure, and that's why every time we talk about Hinduism, like, he has an inferiority conflict. I think Oxymoron is kind of has this sense of bigotry against Indian himself, because he feels very insecure whenever we talk about India or criticize something within India or about Hinduism. He feels attacked personally. So That's why he wants to use the super chat in some way to trying to paint us as racist. So here, this is what he's doing here as well. So first of all, and he doesn't understand anything what he's talking about. Yeah, it's disgusting how in India people are trying to use metaphysical mumbo jumbo and link that to science. That's completely nonsensical, and we do point that out when white people apparently as or Westerners do that as well with modern superstitions, New Age religion in the West, and Christianity, in the West. We highlight that all the time. So this is not about West versus brown mentality that oxymoron is trying to paint here. So the thing with Stoicism is actually Stoics themselves were completely against. They were materialists. So this is what oxymoron doesn't understand. Stoics were materialists. They didn't. This was not metaphysics. Actually, they were some. It was a school of thought that called out superstitious beliefs like that. And maybe if oxymoron actually studied something before he criticized that would be a good thing. Yeah, go on. Let me finish my point first before you say something about this, okay? Also, Stoicism and CBT is linked. The people within CBT, they have completely mentioned that. It is, the link is there. So we're not making this up. Anyways, Susie, go on.
There are some schools of Stoic thought that do have a metaphysical aspect to them. Those are not the aspects of Stoicism as a philosophy that is present in cognitive behavioral therapy as an intervention.
Right. That's a good point. That is also,
it's like literally
that's
that
also,
simple.
Yeah, and also, but that's also
And we're
debatable
not, again,
because
we're not drawing a link. The fathers of cognitive behavioral therapy have explicitly cited this mentality that is imbued through Stoic thought, quote unquote, as the inspiration for their clinical intervention. We're not making it up.
Okay, so let's just be clear. When we're talking about metaphysics, different people mean different things, right? When oxymoron is using and people use that interchangeably so metaphysics, sometimes in philosophy, when people talk about metaphysics, they are talking about answering certain questions, answers to specific questions, right? And if somebody here, and if that version, by that definition, that philosophical definition of metaphysics, obviously Stoicism was supposed to be a school of thought that answers everything, including metaphysical questions, obviously. But the way oxymoron, and people don't understand, some people are saying like, oh, Armin, you're wrong. Stoicism was also metaphysics, idealism. You're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. You just don't understand what I'm responding to. But in day-to-day use, when sometimes people talk about metaphysics, they are trying to refer to something that is unscientific or supernatural or beyond science, or like mumbo jumbo stuff, right? So Stoics themselves were completely materialistics, and even when they used they had a disagreement with Epicureans about the use of words like God. Like Epicureans even considered that to be superstitious, but Stoics use the word God. But if you actually look how that seems like a contradiction between that ideology and them being complete materialistics. But the way that they use gods was kind of like Spinoza's God, because they considered the entirety of nature to be God. So it's not a contradiction with their materialist mindset. And in any case, there are many things in Stoic philosophies that I don't agree with, but again, the link is there. And just because even if there are parts of philosophy, as Susanna mentioned, that we don't agree with, that doesn't mean that it was good inspiration for something that is completely scientific based, right? Yeah. Anyways, I think we made that point. All right. Do you want to go through the other super chats yourself?
Yeah, we've
so
got
that
a
we can
bunch of
go
other
through them
super
fast?
chats. Gasian
Yeah.
American gave us $5. Thank you, Gasian. Saying, my brother's in paganism. This historiophilia is why we lost to the colonizers. Do not repeat this mistake. And this is what led to the Cultural Revolution. I love that. My brother's in paganism. Stay on the straight path, my brothers. Do not repeat your mistakes. Shika, thank you for the super chat, Shika, saying one pseudoscientific theory I heard was that the moon landing is fake because most of them hate the USA. Interesting. I have not heard that theory coming out of the India before. I have heard that, like the ancient Indians invented like spacecraft first. That's a popular one I have heard, but this one's new. Gage gave another super chat saying all Devis are a piece of Shakti. All cows are part of Shakti, are a piece of Shakti. The earth is Prithvi Devi, a piece of Shakti. So I guess that's the correlation between cows
Okay.
and
It makes
earthquakes.
sense now.
Thank
I
you,
got it.
Gaijin. We
Thank
have an
you. Now it
explanation now. Now it all makes sense, and I think you might be onto something.
Yes.
Kenny gave us a super chat, just €5. Thank you, Kenny. No statement.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And Gaijin gave us another super chat saying during the Boxer Rebellion, people believed Taoist Buddhist Kung Fu protected you from bullets. Yes, that is a real thing that happened. And let's just say that will definitely impede your insurgency. Yeah. Just do a little, Kung Fu. That's not going to work. This isn't the Matrix, guys.
No.
You can't, that's not going to work for you. And I saw that you highlighted a bunch of comments about someone being very butthurt about.
This
do you want
is
to highlight
somebody
this?
who's up. Yeah, somebody's obsessed with me, and I think they're using 2 accounts. Big Man is saying Armin has nightmares about Islam growing. He cannot stop Islam from growing. And then he says, I think it's the same person because he's using the same kind of language. If it's a different person, then that's even more impressive that 2 people in the live chat are saying this, right? Strong Muslim is saying Armin has 24/7 nightmares about Islam. And then Islam is growing. Atheist Republic. I feel sorry for Armin's mental health. I hope he takes meds for his nightmares. Oh my god. I don't know. This is kind of fun. Please don't go away.
That's
People
amazing.
are like
Armin, how do you feel knowing that the Sharia is coming around the corner?
This is too good.
God.
Is it the same person? Okay, I don't know if it's the same person because one of them is using all caps, the other one isn't. If we have 2 people like this in the live chat, that's very impressive. That's very interesting.